Alrighty, it's that time of year again already, kind of, sort of. It's not actually the end of the year, I'll be honest. It's the 22nd of December as I'm filming this, but I'm sort of declaring it the end of my reading year. Next week is the busiest week for me in terms of my cat sitting work for the whole year, so I don't imagine I'll get much reading done. Maybe a bit of audiobooks, but not a lot. And the following week, I am going house sitting, so I'm definitely not taking all of this stuff with me. I might take 1 or 2 books, but mostly I think I'll be editing this video. But for now, let's pretend it is the end of the year and I am doing my 2024 wrap-up. There is one more problem though, not just the date. I was looking at my story graph, pulling together all my data, making my little notes. Look, I got myself a notebook to try and be a bit more organised with this channel. And I realised I've read 99 books this year. And although, you know, I read for fun and I don't have a particular number goal, it is quite unsatisfying to have 99 books read. Last year I read 142, by the way, so much less than last year for no discernible reason. I don't know, I don't really mind. But yes, I do mind that it's 99 and not 100, so I've decided I'm just going to quickly read one more book. I had a look at my graphic novels, so I just really like the art, at least based on the cover, the hard switch. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with this one. Okay, let's just quickly read my 100th book of the year. Wouldn't it be great if this was a 5-star? We'll see. Okay. Well, it wasn't a 5-star. It wasn't bad. I am unclear about whether this is the first in a series or standalone. I thought it was a standalone. It doesn't have a number 1 or anything on it, but it's very much setting up a further adventures kind of story. It's about a world where interstellar space travel is possible because of a particular mineral, but that mineral is running out, and so soon nobody will be able to jump hyperspace. So people are kind of scrambling to like salvage it or find alternative methods, or a whole bunch of, you know, poor people are just going to be stuck with whatever planet they're on when it all runs out. And it's about a salvaging crew who are trying to get by in this hard scrabble world, but also possibly have found a little clue to lead them to an alternative fuel source or travel method. So that's why it sounds like the beginning of a series. So now here we are at 100 books for the year. So let's have a look at what those 100 books are. I'm aware that I haven't done a Q3 or Q4 reading summary. I'm not very good at making videos that are time sensitive. I just don't have the, the time to put aside and do all the edit, because I've filmed a Q3, but I haven't edited it or uploaded it. I've got a whole bunch of videos I've filmed, but not finalised. That's definitely the more labour intensive part, is the editing and getting everything the way I want it to be, but never mind. If I upload a whole load of videos that seem like they're in completely the wrong season, or like the clips are clearly filmed in the summer or something like that, then you'll know why. This is very much not a professional YouTube channel. Okie dokie, so let's pull together January's books. Where have I lost one? No, here we go. Okay, so I read 7 books in January. System Collapse by Martha Wells, Dead Man's Ransom by Ellis Peters, Partners in Crime by Agatha Christie, Atonement by Ian McEwan, The Guest List by Lucy Foley, The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb, and I Know Where the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. So you'll see throughout this whole year that I made pretty good progress with series, catching up and generally making progress in them, and I think this is a pretty typical month for that. A Robin Hobb series, reading the latest book of the Murderbot Diaries, and then my Agatha Christie Challenge and the Cad Files series. My top pick from this month would be, well, top picks I should say, would be System Collapse and The Golden Fool. but my favourite of those would be System Collapse. Of course, Murderbot Diaries, a 5-star series, and that was a 5-star book, I think. Let's move on to February. I'm using a microphone for the first time ever, hopefully correctly this time. I mean, I did try and use it before, but it wasn't plugged in properly. So hopefully it works this time and the audio actually sounds pretty good. So, February. The Future by Naomi Alderman. The Temple of Fortuna by Elodie Harper. Stroke of the Pen, Lost Stories by Terry Pratchett. Paladin's Strength by T. Kingfisher. Pilgrim of Hate by Ellis Peters. The Con Artists by Luke Healy. Heartstopper Volume 5. Sacrifice of Darkness, which I don't have anymore because I hated it so much I immediately unhauled it. We Had to Remove This Post by Hannah Berwoods. That's my attempt at that pronunciation. So 9 books total for February. And my top picks would be Heartstopper and Temple of Fortuna, with Temple of Fortuna being my absolute top pick of the month. So it's the final book in the Wolf Den trilogy, which is historical fiction set in ancient Pompeii. Well, starts in Pompeii, then moves on to Rome and other cities. And since this is the finale, I'm sure you can guess the main dramatic event of the story, where everything gets very explosive. And any book that can make me cry about Pliny the Elder deserves 5 stars. Moving on to March, we had 1984 by George Orwell. Goodbye Eri, which I have also unhauled. Lunar New Year Love Story. Once Upon a Crime by Fergus Craig, lowest rated book of the month, definitely. Frontier by Grace Curtis, well, a much higher rating. Rogues, which is an anthology, which I've had for years, so I'm glad to finally get around to reading it. The Approach. The Sinking Admiral by the Detection Club members, the Modern Detection Club. And that's it. So 8 books. Top pick easily being Frontier by Grace Curtis. I've got this lovely sprayed edge version from the Broken Binding. So this is a sci-fi about a woman who crashes her escape pod onto planet Earth and has to go and find her girlfriend, wife, I think it's girlfriend. And there's sort of a variety, it's a Western, but it's a sci-fi, and there's a variety of kind of genres, with each chapter being a sort of a different type of story. And this was a debut, so I'm really looking forward to the next book she's written. I already have it, it's called The Floating Hotel, so I hope to read that next year. April was a big one. 15 books according to this. So, Death on the Lusitania by R.L. Graham, who's actually 2 people. One of them passed away when this was, after it was written, but before it was published, I think. So yeah, there will never be another R.L. Graham book with that particular duo. And then Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. The Cloisters. This is where it gets tricky to find them all. Here we go. By Katie Hayes. The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett is somewhere. An Excellent Mystery. Another Cadfael book. N or M by Agatha Christie. I actually read them all as audiobooks for a challenge. I will link that video up above somewhere. Then I had the Sandman Overture graphic novel by Neil Gaiman. Firefly River Run. We're getting into the series 24-hour readathon with these books, which is why there are quite a few graphic novels. So Suzanne by Tom Humberston. Everything is Fine by Mike Birchall. The Incredible Nellie Bly by a whole bunch of people. And Put Away Childish Things by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Why Fish Don't Exist by Lulu Miller. And then I finished off the Tawny Man trilogy with Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. And I finished I don't know what this series is called. Is it even a series? The Karma series, maybe? There's a series of companion books. But anyway, Kundo Wakes Up by Saad Hussein. So yeah, April is always a chunky one because of Dewey's 24-hour readathon. Probably find the same in October as well. There's 2 readathons a year. Again, I did film a video for the October readathon, but I haven't edited it or done anything, and now the time's passed. Top pick from this month. A bit trickier because there's quite a few 4.5s, 4s, etc. So Death in the Lusitania, Maltese Falcon, Incredible Nellie Bly, and Put Away Childish Things, Kundo Wakes Up. These were all like 4-star plus, but my only 5-star of the month is Fool's Fate. Finishing off my second of the Realm of the Elderlings trilogies. And I find the third book in each of the trilogies is usually the best. I mean, having said that, I did quite hate some bits of the original trilogy. What was it called? Assassin's Quest? Yeah, I didn't like the body swapping bit of that, but generally Robin Hobb is going to be like a 4 or 5-star for me. Moving on to May. So I was in Japan from the beginning of May, the first 3 quarters, so didn't get much reading done at all. In fact, I only read 2 books in May. As is my way of liking to read a book set in a country that I'm travelling to, I read The Village of 8 Graves by Seishi Yokomizo whilst I was in Japan. Mostly it was an audiobook, and then finished it off physically once I got home. Which shows you that 3 weeks and I didn't even finish an entire normal novel. We were just so busy. Not actually my favourite of the Inspector Kindaichi series anyway, unfortunately. And then the other book I read was The Brides of High Hill by Nevo, so the latest in the Singing Hills cycle. Again, not my favourite. I'm just not into gothic horror, unfortunately. And that was the vibe of that particular book, not the series as a whole, just that one. Well, I have to pick between those 2. And so I guess Brides of High Hill does come out slightly better than Village of 8 Graves. But I don't feel I'm really doing this justice because I was so busy travelling around whilst reading it. So June, things got a bit more back to normal. So 10 books for June. And they were Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. The Raven in the Foregate by Ellis Peters. Paladin's Hope. So that'll be this one, I think. Yes. By T. Kingfisher. Cold People by Tom Rob Smith. Another Adrian Tchaikovsky, so Dogs of War. The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, but I haven't kept hold of that. Started the Culture series, so consider Phlebas by Ian M. Banks. Leviathan, which is a little video game graphic novel. The Golden Voice, about a Cambodian rock and roll singer. I read my first Catherine Addison book this is actually a bind-up of 2 stories, so The Witness for the Dead and The Grief of Stones. That was also another start of a new series. I'll talk about series later on, but I think I finished or caught up in series more than I started. But I will have to double check that. So 2 5-stars this month. It was Paladin's Hope and Dogs of War. Witness for the Dead could have been a 5-star if it didn't have such a confusing naming system in that world. But of these 2, my top pick, I don't know. I mean, this one made me cry over a cybernetic dog. And this one had more of a romance storyline. I think I'm going to go Dogs of War. So I kind of rule for myself I have to pick one. So let's go dogs 4. Then we go into July. Another holiday, but only to the Cotswolds this time. So I got more reading done. Mamo, or Mamo. The Cybernetic Tea Shop, which is an ebook. So I'll put the cover up. Imposter Syndrome by Joseph Knox. Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater. I've got the Christmas edition. Then I did my Plastic Free July series. So hard to spot, even though it's bright pink. That way around. This is Not a Drill by Extinction Rebellion. The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean. And The Sea Around Us by Rachel Carson. I read The Mysterious Affair of Styles by Agatha Christie. I did a solve-along video for this, which is why there's post-it tabs in here. Another unedited video sitting on my hard drive. Maybe something will come of it one day. At least that's not so seasonal. So yes, these 8 books for July. My top pick would be probably Death of a Bookseller. It's not perfect, but of this month. Then we're on to August with 8 books. So I started a new series, The Rainwild Chronicles, Robin Hobb, continued the culture with Player of Games. Then for a reading challenge, which will be finished next year, and I'll hopefully make a video of lots of clips. I read Midsummer Mysteries, Agatha Christie. Then A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. I don't know how to pronounce this one. 21120, something like that. A very weird choose-your-own-adventure horror graphic novel by George Wylesol. At Bertram's Hotel is here somewhere by Agatha Christie. And then as a companion to that, Marple by various authors, but with an Agatha Christie character. I wonder if you can guess what the reading challenge is. There's been a couple of clues in here, because it started in July, actually I should say, but a couple in here that I wouldn't have chosen to read them at this specific time, except for the challenge. And then I didn't have any 5-star this month, but best book would be a toss-up between A Sorceress Comes to Call and Dragon Keeper, I think. And since I have to pick one according to my own rules, I'm going to go Dragon Keeper. Despite my assertion earlier that the Robin Hobb trilogies get better towards the end, I think actually this series might be the opposite. I didn't particularly like book 3 at all, actually. I mean, there's 4 in this series, it's not a trilogy. I think the second one, actually, which we'll see in a little stack a little further along, that was my favourite of that Rainwild Chronicles. Then in September, I read 5 books. So we have, as I just mentioned, Dragonhaven by Robin Hobb, Argyle by Ellie Conway, who's not Taylor Swift, Paladin's Faith by T. Kingfisher, Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee, and The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison, which I only listened to as an audiobook. I don't have a physical copy. I have tried to buy a physical copy on eBay of the Broken Binding edition, because that's where my Grief of Stones and Witness for the Dead edition came from. But people sell it online for ridiculous money, so I'll probably never get it. And actually, I did not like it as much as I liked Witness for the Dead. But my top pick for the month would be Dragonhaven. Ridiculous piles are starting to subside. We come into October with 12 books. as mentioned before, it is another of the Julie's Readathon mega months. So we have Halloween Party, Agatha Christie. Sign, which is a graphic novel I didn't keep a hold of. The Faint of Heart. Horizontal Collaboration. The Seven Secrets. Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. The Lost Art of Walking by Jeff Nicholson. This took me so long to read. I started it in July. It was pretty boring, but that might give you a clue as to what reading challenge that's all part of. It's a year-long one. The Rose Rent by Ellis Peters. We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. Slow Horses by Mick Herron. And Redwall by Brian Jacks, which I read audio only. Top pick from this month, well, there's quite a few good ones actually. Very much a highs and lows kind of month. So quite a few in the four and a half kind of range. So like We Solve Murders, Slow Horses, Good Girl, Bad Blood, Horizontal Collaboration. But the only 5-star I gave this month was for Wrong Place, Wrong Time. A time loop, kind of a murder mystery, but not a whodunit, a whydunit. Then November, I caught up with the Thursday Murder Club series, with Last Devil to Die, and yes, I cried a lot, of course I did. Then we had my first China Mieville with Kraken, Berserker, which I no longer have. In fact, the next few I no longer have because they weren't that great and I'd rather sell them. So there was Total Suplex of the Heart and Save Yourself. And then Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. City of Dragons by Robin Hobb, but I don't have a physical copy. Autumn Chills by Agatha Christie. Dead Lions by Mick Herron, the second in the Slough House series. So 9 books. And my top pick would be, well, I mean, it's got to be Last Devil to Die, doesn't it? Oh, Squeeze My Heart, Richard Osman. Which brings us on to December. I've got 3 physical books here. So, Case Histories by Kate Atkinson. Snake Stone by Jason Goodwin. Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. Blood of Dragons by Robin Hobb, the final of the Rainwild Chronicles. The List, which is a short story within the Slough House series. And Lost in the Moment and Found, trying to catch up with the Wayward Children series. And then, of course, The Hard Switch by Owen Pomeroy. I think my favourite of this month would be The Snake Stone by Jason Goodwin. So, book 2, I believe, of the Inspector Yashim series. I haven't read them in order, which is why I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure it's book 2. Not quite a 5-star, but the best of the month. So that's my 100 books of 2024, pending any additions Editing Gemma adds in. And of my top 12, so it's these 11 plus Brides of High Heel, which, as I said, it's not actually a top choice of the year. What would be my favourite of these? Well, it's difficult to choose. I mean, we've got classic fantasies, we've got sci-fi, we've got some time loop, we've got plenty of murder mysteries, a bit of cross-genre stuff. One historical fiction, Temple of Fortuna, is kind of the odd one out. Don't know. Let me remove the ones that definitely aren't in the top. So, Death of a Book Sale is probably not top, if I'm honest. Don't think Wrong Place, Wrong Time would be. I feel like I should only choose one Robin Hobb. So, hang on. of these three, I'm gonna go with Dragon Haven, I think. I don't think I can really justify my choices. It's just sort of gut instinct. So now we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we go. Is there such a thing as a top 7? It's hard to judge when, like, I read System Collapse back in January. Feels like even longer ago than that. Snakestone wasn't quite a 5 stars. Let's pop that away. Down to these 5. I don't think Dragon Haven was actually a 5 stars from what I remember. I will reluctantly remove Frontier from the pile. Down to 3. Dogs of War, Last Evil to Die, and Temple of Fortuna. And I think I'm just going to go with my gut and say my top book of the year is The Temple of Fortuna by Elodie Harper. Yeah, let's just go with that. I have to make up my mind. I can't be here forever. Excellent. That would do very nicely. So, having decided that, let's look at the number crunching side of things. So how did I do it in terms of my general goals? I've got a spreadsheet where I keep track of all the series that I read because I just don't want to lose track of them in the middle of a series and then a year later think, hang on, whatever became of the end of that story? So anyway, I have caught up in The Saint of Steel, Heartstopper, Murderbot, Singing Hills Cycle, and the Thursday Murder Club series. I've finished The Tawny Man, the Wolf Den trilogy, and the Karma series. I started and finished the Rainwild Chronicles. I made progress in Cadfael, Detective Kindaichi, The Wayward Children, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and Yashim, the Ottoman Detective. And in 3 of those, I only have 1 more book to read before I'm either caught up or finished. And then I only started, I think, Slough House, The Culture, Dogs of War, and The Cemeteries of Amarlo. Technically, I'm also caught up in The Cemeteries of Amarlo because the 3rd book doesn't come out until March next year. Yeah, so ignore me. Put that in the first category of like caught up. In terms of books I DNF'd this year, it's worth mentioning. So Rouge by Mona Awad, The Millionaire Mind by Thomas J. Stanley, The Collector by Laura Cat Young, 18 Tiny Deaths by Bruce Goldfarb, Some We Love, Some We Hate, Some We Eat by Hal Herzog, The Bourne Supremacy by Robert Ludlum, A Million Little Pieces by James Fry, and A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Storygraph now has a feature you can put books on pause as well, so you're not completely DNFing or giving up on them. It's just you've had to pause them because, you know, the library book needed to be returned, or you just put it aside and it's dropped down the priority list, which for me is The Hopkin Manuscripts by R.C. Sheriff, Goldilocks by L.R. Lamb, Watching by Alex Horn, Goodbye Sarajevo by Hannah Schofield and Atka Reed, The Yiddish Policeman's Union by Michael Chabon, and Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Shauna Maguire, which is the library took the book back before I was finished with it. I didn't actually want to pause it. So hopefully those can be tidied up within like the first quarter of next year. That would be nice. Last year for my wrap up, I included a section on my book subscriptions and how much I progressed in them. This year I actually paused my subscription for the End of the World Reading Club. I think I paused it for 1 quarter because I'm on the quarterly subscription, basically 9 instead of 12. But I only read 2 this year actually. I'm considering cancelling that subscription because I'm not getting through them. I've got a massive backlog, as you would have seen from my trying the first 10 pages video. And I don't know, I'm not enjoying the genre as much as I used to, I think, considering it. So anyway, the 2 I did read was 1984 and Cold People. I think 1984 came in a bonus box, actually. I don't think it was a part of the main subscription. But I don't feel that kind of hook so much anymore. And considering it costs £33 per book box, that's a fair bit of dosh for something that's not as enjoyable as it used to be. But I think there are a couple of ones I would like to really read. I think I need to get back into the habit almost. For the graphic novel station, the readathons helped me get through the backlog of those. So I know last year I received 27 books from that subscription. So let's say, in the round 24 to 27 book series. And how many did I read this year? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I read 20 from that subscription. So 20 out of roughly 27. That's not too bad, actually. So in terms of some of the information that Storygraph gives you, I can tell you I read 10 non-fiction books this year, so still not meeting my 12 goal, but I don't know, near enough. My top genre was mystery, no surprise, and then followed by fantasy. Again, Robin Hobb alone would have bumped that number up significantly. I read 49 books in mixed format. I listened to 15 purely as audiobooks. And my top author that I read the most this year was Agatha Christie. I'm sure nobody's surprised by that. Closely followed by Robin Hobb and Ellis Peters, T. Kingfisher, and then just, a couple of others from Catherine Addison, E.M. Banks, that kind of thing. And as ever, April was my busiest month. My average rating this year, however, is 3.73. That's not good. That's a whole 0.1 less than last year. Does that make sense? Last year's average was 3.83. This year's 3.73 is what I mean. There were some real duds this year. Sacrifice of Darkness, I will never forgive for being so bad. But what else did I give a low rating? I think that was my lowest of the year, 1.5 stars. But then I had a couple of 2s, so The Lost Art of Walking and Once Upon a Crime. Please watch my Solve-Along Once Upon a Crime video because it will somehow justify the pain I went through reading that book. And then it jumps up, I think, to 2.75. I gave 8 books, 2.75. My God, no wonder my average is so low. So The Sinking Admiral, Goodbye Airy, Total Perplex of the Heart, We Had to Remove This Post, Kraken, Portrait of a Thief, Berserker, that should probably be a bit lower, and The Approach. So with all of that taken into account, what is my TBR looking like at the moment? I haven't looked this up yet. This will be a surprise for me as well. I know that I started the year, according to my video from this time last year, with 287 books. How much is it now? So I've done quite a lot of unhauling, even of books I haven't read, because I don't think they won't interest me anymore. Aren't you proud of me? I did a few bits of DNFing, more than I think in previous years. And yeah, I've read 100 books, not my most, not my least. So what does that all balance out to? I did read quite a few books this year though that weren't on my TBR, as in my physical TBR upstairs. Some for some video projects, some, just because I wanted to. With the Slough House series, I only started reading them because I wanted to watch the TV show. Anyway, enough. Hang on. So filter list by books that I own, but I'm on my TBR, and the answer is, so from 287 last year, we're down to 262. Okay. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It is what it is. This time last year, I said that I was maybe going to make every book on my physical TBR kind of video. Would you be interested in watching that though? Because that is a hell of a lot of editing in those kind of videos. So I think I'd appreciate some feedback about whether anyone would actually watch that. Is anybody interested in seeing my entire physical TBR? So thanks very much for watching this wrap up. Hopefully it was interesting, and you've got some ideas, recommendations, and let me know if, 1, you can figure out the reading challenge that I'm doing that will take a whole year, and 2, if you would watch a video of my entire physical TBR. Wish me luck next week. Cat sitting, busiest week of the year. I'm seeing 6 houses on Christmas morning. I haven't actually counted how many of the cats that is. And the girl who's meant to be helping me on Christmas Day or that week messaged me yesterday to say that she was starting to feel a bit ill and maybe has the flu. And if she calls off sick, pray for me. Yes, I hope you had a great 2024. Hope you had a great reading year. Hope you had a better than 3.73 average. And I will see you in 2025. Thanks very much. Bye.